Blessings, everyone. Thank you for once again being with us, and looking forward to tonight. Our good friend Alan Tutt, integral part of the fellowship. Wonderful ideas to catapult the organization to new directions. He shared some of his insights during our roundtable meeting. If you joined us, and look forward to those implementations of marketing, of focus on inspiring those that are looking for their own inner truths, and the mission of balanced, positive, loving, and joyful living with Alan and the Coptic Fellowship. His topic tonight we'll get to in a moment, but he does continue to develop new and better ways to manifest your desires reliably and consistently. He really walks his path with humility as a photographer, author, speaker, coach, marketing consultant, as we touched on just a moment ago. And he's also a lover of, an explorer of art, and a wonder of deep, mystical, complex insights that he focused on. Howard Keyes Publishing, he established in 2003, writing some books, creating audio programs to help people tap into the divine nature within themselves in order to direct the course of their lives to attain whatever goals that they may have. 2 books available on Amazon.com. He has touched on them previously. I'm sure we'll touch on them tonight because that's a part of who he is. Choose to Believe, Practical Guide Towards Living Your Dreams, and Harmonic Prayer, how to instantly increase your prayer power, which will bring practical tools that you can tap into the divine within you and in the universe. Wonderful topic tonight. Have you taken your meds? It's meditation, exercise, diet, and service. He goes in depth on that tonight, and we look forward to this topic in this presentation.
Most of us, as we are trying to go through life and trying to follow some of these suggestions of Hamid Bey to determine what it is that we want in life, and then to analyze ourselves to figure out what is the best way that we can approach life so that we can get the thing that we want out of life, whether it is happiness, whether it is financial success, whether it is a life of purpose and meaning, whatever those things are. Most of us do want to have more out of life. We find life to be a struggle. We find it difficult. We find challenges that seem to be beyond our capabilities. We find situations that seem to hem us in so that we don't really have what we feel to be the freedom to be ourselves, to be the authentic self that we know that we could be. We're looking for a better way, a way of life that leads us to experience more of the things that we would enjoy while eliminating the things that we find disagreeable. And when we study the lessons of Hamid Bey, we find a lot of key ideas, a lot of wisdom in those lessons, as Autumn was just pointing out. Some of those things that a lot of people are looking for, an easier way of life. I mean, how many people here would like to have more energy in their life? How many people would like to wake up in the morning full of energy and vitality and go through the day and have everything be easy and just flowing from one thing to the next so that by the time you end up with the day, you're not exhausted. You actually have energy left over. How many people, I saw a few hands come up. Yep, okay, yep, most of the hands coming up. So that is one of those things that we would like to experience more of in our lives. How many people would like to be able to go through life with a clear mind so that we're not confused, so that we're not distracted by things, so that we can focus on the thing that is in front of us until that thing is done without getting a lot of noise in our minds? How many people would like to have more clarity of mind? Okay, I'm seeing a couple of hands. That's good. The next thing that I was going to check on is how many people would like to add more years to their life, or at least add more life to their years. I mean, pretty much everyone would like one of those two. And then the final question that I was going to check with to make sure that I'm talking to the right people here, and I've got the right message for you. How many people want to make sure that the life that they're living is full of purpose and meaning so that we can be making a difference in the lives of others? How many people would like to have that type of life? Okay, that is absolutely wonderful because the lessons of Hamid Bey give us a clear and precise prescription to attain those things into our lives. the questions that I'm talking about, this is really just a small sampling of what we can gain when we study and implement. And implement is the key word here. When we implement the teachings of Hamid Bey, the founder of the Coptic Fellowship. The prescription that I'm talking about, the meds that we're talking about, there's 4 components. Mike listed them in the introduction. MEDS, MEDS, stands for the 4 components that we're going to talk about tonight: meditation, exercise, diet, and service. In fact, you see behind me a little poster that I created. It's a little 8.5 by 11 thing. I'll give you a link to it later tonight if you want to get a copy so you can hang it up and be a constant daily reminder for you of things to focus on. The interesting thing that I find whenever I'm talking to people about these types of contents, these types of concepts, it's like meditation. We all think we know what meditation is. We all have some experience with meditation. We think, yeah, it's good, but it's only good for so much. And then exercise. We all know how valuable exercise is, but how many of us actually exercise on a regular basis? And so implementing these ideas is the key element. Diet. We all know how important diet is, but there are some key bits of information that may surprise you. And I hope to surprise you with at least some of these ideas throughout tonight's presentation. And of course, service, as Autumn was pointing out, service is the key to happiness. The more we serve others, the more we are benefited ourselves. And the more we offer that service in a spirit of, I enjoy doing this, I am expressing the divine essence through this service, then the more it opens us up to experience even more. And so as we go through these 4 concepts tonight, I'm going to point out some benefits that you may not know about with some of these things, and some ways of doing these things in a way that can provide even more benefits. Because as I'm starting to teach to my email subscribers through my website, it's not enough to just pick the right things to do. It's not what you do. The important thing is how you do it. Because you can be doing the right things, but doing those things in the wrong way, and then it completely destroys any benefit that you might get from those. And yet, if we do the right things in the right way, then the benefits can be far-reaching and simply amazing. So let's start with meditation. Meditation is something that I think everyone in this group has some experience with. We may even lead meditations. We may practice meditating on a regular basis. Some of you may be regular meditators, some of you may not. I don't know who's who on that group. I know I am sporadic in my practice of meditation, and I would like to do it on a more regular basis. So part of this talk is as much for me as it is for you. And those of you who do presentations know that sometimes what we teach is what we actually need to hear ourselves. So pardon me if I offer suggestions on do what I say, not what I do kind of thing, but these are things that I would like to do more of myself. So getting into the topic of meditation, the reason that we start with meditation is because this is the foundation for everything else that we're building on. Because without a good meditation practice, the rest of this prescription can only do so much for you. There's only so much that exercise, diet, and service can do for you if you don't have that strong, solid foundation of a clear, grounded mind. As those who study the physical aspects of life know, science has proven a number of physical health benefits for meditation, the primary benefit being lower stress. And when we can eliminate stress from our lives, and we don't want to eliminate all stress from our lives, because there's a certain amount of stress that's good, because it gives us muscle tone, it gives us energy to have at least some physical stress in our body. But what's dangerous is to have too much stress, that just completely interferes with the way that your body is operating. So when we eliminate that excess stress, then that has been shown scientifically to be the root cause of many different types of diseases and sicknesses and illnesses. And if we can eliminate the stress, then we eliminate that starting point, that seed that eventually develops into those sicknesses and disease. And so simply by meditating and eliminating stress from our lives, or the excess stress from our lives, we can become healthier on a physical level, not just mental. Now, obviously, good meditation practice can also help clear our minds. We can clear our minds to the point where we can focus on one thing without getting distracted by everything else that's going on. And when we have that clarity of focus and we eliminate all the noise of the hundreds of little thought and voices that chatter inside our minds, at least most of the time, at least for most people, when you get rid of that chattering monkey mind and can clear the background noise away, you can hear the still small voice within, that voice of intuition, that guidance that comes from the divine. And when we do tap into that divine guidance, that guidance can lead us to do the right thing at the right time in the right way and for the right reasons, so that we're not wasting our time, we're not wasting our energy, we're not trying to do something that's just simply not going to work. By following that divine guidance, which we can get through the benefits of meditation, that can eliminate, I can't really give it a number, let's say 80% of the wasted effort that we would have on a daily basis by simply following the guidance that's given to us, and stopping to do all the little things that would just go down the wrong pathway. So these are some of the benefits that science has proven of meditation. Of course, we know of other benefits, and I'm going to just bypass some of that right now because I don't want to take 3 hours for tonight's presentation. I would like to keep it under an hour, under a half hour if we can. So we'll just kind of jump ahead. Now, with meditation, there's many different types of meditation. Most of us are familiar with guided meditations where we sit, we listen to someone tell us, visualize this, imagine that, now do this, now go this way. And if they are good at what they're telling us, if they are experienced guided meditation leaders, they will lead us through a process that will eventually produce a result on an internal level. And these kinds of meditations, they can help us make a stronger connection with the divine. They can help us get some of that clarity of mind. They can help us instruct the subconscious mind to do things differently than what it had been doing, so that our habits echo and resonate with the goals that we would like to accomplish in our lives. So guided meditation is a good thing to do, but if we really want the absolute best clarity of mind so that we do have that sharp focus so that we can see the details without getting distracted by other things, the best form of meditation is what many call sitting in the silence. And this is the meditation where you just simply put everything away, you close everything down, you relax your body, you empty your mind. And then when that mind is empty, you just sit there. You just sit in the silence. You just ignore any thought that might be coming through. And the first couple times you do this, those of you who may still be in the beginning stages will know this definitely, and those of us who have done it for a while can still remember it, most of us. When you first start out trying to empty your mind and just sit in a silence, it's like all of a sudden the gates have opened, the floodgates are no longer there, and a million different thoughts come and assault you, trying to get your attention to say, okay, I've been waiting for my chance. Look at me, pay attention to me. And you have all these different thoughts and voices coming at you all at once. And it's like, where did all this come from? I'm trying to clear my mind out. But the thing is like, if any kind of dam breaks, the water's going to rush out, the water's going to spread out, and then eventually it will spread out. Eventually it does settle down, and eventually those voices do fade away. And so when we sit in the silence, when we try to just simply ignore all those thoughts and say, okay, I will get back to you tomorrow. I will get back to you in 10 minutes. I will get back to you whenever I'm done. For right now, this is me time. And me time is not you time. So I'm going to ignore these thoughts. I'm going to ignore all of you. And I'm just going to be here and sit with me for a while. And if you start out doing this 5 minutes at a time, 10 minutes at a time, 15 minutes at a time, whatever you can do is going to be a benefit. Personally, I find meditations of 20 minutes or more to be even more beneficial than anything less than that. In fact, there are times when I will sit down for a couple of hours and just try to clear my mind and just be in that space. In fact, you guys have probably heard one of the stories, at least I think you may have. Last year, I was in the process of writing a new development course, an email series that I was sending out to my subscribers for developing our ability to tap into the divine and listen to that divine guidance and to use that connection to manifest the things that we want into life. And there was one particular week, and this had been after a couple of months into the pandemic, and I had spent way too much time watching YouTube videos and watching things on Netflix, and there was so much media that I was consuming over a period of months that I was starting to have trouble focusing. I was starting to have a little trouble trying to identify, okay, what is the next lesson supposed to be? How do I write this? What are the ideas that need to come in? What order do they need to come in? And I recognized that I had a problem. I needed to get into a meditation. I needed to clear out all that noise so that I could listen for the divine guidance myself. And I sat down and I just simply zoned out for 3 hours. And at the end of that 3-hour time frame, I could feel how much calmer my spirit was. I could feel how clear my mind was. I could feel that the divine mind was just inches away and easily accessible. And so I got up, I went to my desk, I came down, I opened the word processor, and I started writing. And within, 20 minutes, I think it was, that lesson was written. And it was probably better than anything I'd written previous to that point for at least a couple of months. And so that's one of those extra benefits of doing a clear space meditation. So I think I'm going to leave that at that. So we're all familiar with meditation. We're all familiar with it. It really is a discipline. It's something that we just have to simply set time aside and say, okay, for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to just clear my mind and do my absolute best to ignore anything that comes through my mind. I'm going to ignore all the thoughts that come through. You may be successful, you may not be, but the effort is what's important. The effort to clear your mind sends a message to your subconscious mind to say, this is what I would like. Please help me do this. And so each time you do this, each time you set aside that time, it gets easier and easier and easier. So even though the first couple of times it's going to be like madness happening, it does get easier, and you will come to treasure that quiet time within your mind, because it is so valuable and it leads to so many good things. So one way that I describe meditation is a mental exercise. And so this kind of leads directly into the second component of this prescription for a happy and healthy life from Hamid Bey. And that second component is exercise, and not just mental exercise, but also physical exercise. We are physical beings married to a spiritual being. We have a physical body. And as long as we are in this physical world, we need to live through this physical body, so we need to take care of it as best we can. And one thing that most people don't realize, and that is energy cannot be saved. I have heard so many people over the course of my life saying, okay, I'm going to rest now. I'm going to save my energy because I have something else to do later. I'm going to conserve my energy now so I have more energy later. It doesn't work that way. It may work that way for an hour, but not over time. One thing to keep in mind is that our bodies, in fact, the whole human system adapts to whatever conditions we find ourselves in. If we are in a situation like I have been for the last 20 years, I'm working at a desk. I'm working at a computer. I'm sitting here for many, many hours a day, and I'm not up and walking around like I used to. I used to be on my feet for 12 hours a day. And I also used to weigh 155 pounds. And I was very much on the thin side. Well, I've gained 30 pounds since then. And a lot of it is because I'm sitting at a desk most of the day. Our bodies adapt to whatever situation we're in. When we're sitting down, if we're not doing much, then your body says, okay, I don't need these extra muscles. I can use that material, that resource, to burn that energy to do something else. And so your body cuts down on those systems that are needed for strength and energy when we are sedentary for most of the time. And then we get up, we want to go walking, we have to climb a flight of stairs, and we get winded. And it's like, wow, I just can't get up those stairs like I used to. I just can't do what I used to be able to do. Well, that's because your body is adapted to a lower level of activity. When we put a higher demand on our physical body, if we say, okay, I'm going to spend, here again, it can be as little as 5 or 10 minutes. I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes just moving around. I'm going to just get my body moving. Hey, let's just put on some music and go dancing. Dance in the middle of the living room. Let's just get up and move. And the more we do this, the more the body says, okay, this is something new. Yeah, I can deal with this. Okay, maybe the next time you eat something that has the right nutrients in it, then I will build the muscles back up again so that you have the strength to lift things and move furniture and do whatever else you might be wanting to do. And you have the energy to dance and to play and to run and jump and whatever else that you're telling your body, hey, I want to be able to do more of this. Your body will say, okay, I'll make it happen. I will support you in that decision. And that's the wonderful thing, is because our bodies do support us in whatever decisions we make. We just have to make the decision and stick with it. As John Davis has told us numerous times, every January there's a bunch of new people that sign up to a health club, and they go in once or twice a week, and then in a couple of weeks, why bother? They just won't stick with the decision, and then they're gone. And yet the people who do stick with that decision, who do continue with it, they see their bodies changing over time in a positive way. And so that's one of the biggest things to know about exercise, is that the body does adapt, and that if you want more energy, then you have to use more energy, because the more energy you use, the more energy you get. The other part about exercise is that the cells of your body, they're taking nutrients from the blood. The blood is circulating through the body, and it's pumped by the heart, and the heart is pumping that blood through the body and getting the nutrients wherever it's needed. Well, that's fuel for the cells, and then the cells burn that fuel, and like any car engine, like any motor of any kind, once the fuel is burned, there's a waste product that comes out of that process. Well, that waste products, they have to get back into the bloodstream to be eliminated, and that's the function of what's called the lymph system, LYMPH, is the lymph system that takes the waste products of the body and gets it into the bloodstream so that it can be eliminated. Now, whereas the blood is circulated through the body by the heart, the lymph system, that movement, that circulation that happens is moved by the rest of the muscles in your body. So if you're sitting around and not doing anything, your body is collecting waste materials and you're starting to drown in a sewage of waste products. And so if you want to eliminate that body sewage, then you've got to keep moving and get that stuff out of the cells so that it can be eliminated. And as anyone knows, you clear out all the junk, then you have a clear space to work. And it's like an engine. If you try to put diesel fuel into a gasoline engine, the sludge is just going to build up and it's just not going to work anymore. And so that leads us to the third component of this prescription, which is the diet, which is the fuel that we are actually giving our body so that it can burn cleanly, so that it can give us that energy. And just like fuel in a car, gas in a car, the higher the quality of fuel that you put in, the cleaner that engine runs, the less waste products are developed, and not only does it run cleanly, but it also runs longer. The engine lasts longer when you give it clean fuel to burn. And here again, when we exercise and develop a pattern of energy from the body adapting to that, and we're eating the right kinds of food that will burn cleanly, we get even more energy. And again, going back to where we started today, how many of us want more energy? Well, if we want more energy, then we need to do more exercise and we need to eat foods that the body can use well. And so this is probably the topic that I'm least qualified to talk about. And as Linda will say, my diet habits are absolutely horrendous. And I admit that. So this is a situation where you don't do as I do. And I'm not going to tell you what to eat because I'm not qualified to tell you what to eat. I know what everyone else says, the breads and the pastas and the ice cream and the candy and the sugar and all that kind of stuff is not supposed to be the right things for you. There's other stuff that's even better. There's a YouTube channel that I have been watching for a period of time called The Healthy Life. And it's a husband and wife team that are producing that. And they have some very interesting ideas. They do talk about eating a 100% plant-based diet. And they also talk about not only what to eat, but also how to eat it. And one of the ideas that they have really intrigued me with is this idea that goes completely against what I learned as the proper way of eating. I'm pretty sure that you've all heard this idea that if you want to keep your metabolism up, you need to eat several small meals throughout the day. You need to eat a handful here, you need a handful there, handful of food there, handful of food there, 6 to 8 tiny little bits of food throughout the day. Well, what I've been learning this last 6 months to a year is that may be one of the worst ways of eating our food. Because every time we ingest food, the body has to process that food, which means it needs to release insulin to process that food. And when the body is releasing insulin, it can't take any energy out of the fat cells to burn that. So we're never able to lose weight if we're constantly eating on that regular basis. Now, I can't tell you exactly how it all works, but what I will say is the bottom line, what they have been recommending is this diet called intermittent fasting. And it's essentially, you go without food most of the day, and then in a period of a few hours, whether it's 2 hours, 3 hours, or even 6 hours, it depends on how you're able to adapt to this. They suggest starting with the 6-hour window and then narrowing that down as much as you can over a period of time. But if you basically take all of the food that you would normally eat in a day and then pack it all together into what they call the 1 meal a day diet. And it can be spread out over a couple hours. It doesn't have to be all in one sitting, all in 1 hour. It can be spread out. The idea is that your body will process that food. It will release insulin to process that food. But then after 3 or 4 hours, that process is done, and then your body flips around and starts burning fat. I can't really tell you all the details about that, but I will drop that as a suggestion, something to look into. It's a possibility. So that's all I'm going to go with that one. And then the last and probably the most important aspect of this prescription that Hamid Bey gives us for a healthy and happy life is the idea of service. And this is the one where all of the benefits that we gain from meditation, from exercise, from diet, all of those aspects are kind of focused on ourselves, our own experience of life. But then once we have all that energy, once we have that clarity of mind, once we have a physical, mental, emotional system that is operating at peak efficiency, what are we going to do with it? What's next? What's the reason for us to be here? And that is where the service comes in. And so, whereas some of us may have the wrong idea of service, some of us have this idea of service is that we have to make the other person more important than ourselves. We have to sacrifice what we enjoy out of life so that we can give someone else what they actually enjoy. And it's like, where should we have that dichotomy where other people get to enjoy life, but we don't? And I think that's the wrong idea of service. I think the idea of service is that to share the wealth of the world so that we all enjoy life, so that I can enjoy my life and I can help you enjoy your life. I think that is the proper way of approaching service. And there, again, just like everything else, there's many different ways of doing this. Businesses, if they are based on the right idea, are in business to serve customers. The reason for having a restaurant is to serve customers, to satisfy them on their dietary journey, whatever that may be. The reason to build cars is to serve people, serve the need for transportation that people have. The reason for having computers or cameras or lights or anything else, the reason that these businesses exist is because they want to serve the community. They want to serve humanity in some way. And so service doesn't necessarily have to be self-sacrificing. It can be an exchange of value. And when we do organize our lives so that there is an exchange of value, then not only can we serve more people, but we can not only can we serve people on a higher level, but we could also serve more people. Because if every transaction leaves us in at least as good a position as we started, then there's no end to that service. If every transaction we have with another person makes us poorer in some way, then there's a bottom line that we can't go beyond, and eventually we hit that bottom line and can no longer serve people. So in whatever way that we serve people, we need to at least maintain our own level of experience in life. So if it is on a financial level, like most businesses are, then we need to make sure that that business pays for itself so that it can continue. In personal relationships, we're not focused on earning money. We're not focused on an exchange of value in a monetary sense. We're looking at an exchange of value in ways like, again, like Autumn mentioned earlier, giving a person a smile, giving someone a compliment, letting someone know how much you like what they have done or how they are approaching life. Or like Pete, one of the things that I mentioned to him recently is that I absolutely admire his persistence and his patience. And he is an absolute star in those areas because he is demonstrating what all of us should strive to be in personal relationships. And that is one way of serving people, just being an example. So I think I probably covered this as well as we need to at this point. What I want to end this presentation with is that the ideas that we've been talking about tonight are ideas that come directly from Master Hamid Bey, the founder of the Coptic Fellowship. And the ideas in this presentation are just the tiniest of seeds of what WSO, World Service Order Training, is becoming in the new year. We, the facilitators of the WSO World Service Order Training, are putting together a new type of an experience with the training so that we are focusing more on the teachings of Hamid Bey, the practical applications of his teachings to not only benefit ourselves, but also benefit the world at large. And again, at this point, I can't go into too much detail on this, but as most of you know, there is a page on the Coptic Center website, thecopticcenter.org/WSO, is a link that I'm going to put on the video, and I'm going to put into the description underneath the video when it gets onto YouTube. This link will take you to a page that describes what WSO is all about, what this World Service Order Training is all about. And anybody who has not yet taken that training, I highly recommend that you do that. And one of the benefits of going through any of the Coptic Fellowship training is that once you've gone through it once, you're free to come back over and over and over again as often as you would like for no additional charge. So those of you who have taken WSO, you're welcome to come back because it's going to be different. It's always different, but it's going to be radically different this time. And I would love to see you there. Thank you.
Wonderful, Alan. Thank you very much. And looking forward to diving into the meds more so on a daily basis. It was interesting how you touched on different things. And intermittent fasting, I never heard that term before. It sounds very unique. Who's that that YouTube video you saw? Or that, it was a married couple, right?
Yeah, the channel is called The Healthy Life. And yeah, I will put it into the chat here.
Did they mention about anything of when to eat? I mean, it's easy to go fast throughout the day and then have a huge meal at night, and then you go sit and watch TV. Which I raise my hand on that one. You know. Yeah,
I've watched a lot of videos on that, and it doesn't seem to really matter what time of day you do this. The couple that are featured in the YouTube channel I mentioned, they eat their food later in the evening, kind of like what we would normally do as a dinner between 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock at night. And then that's just what they choose to do. I have watched videos from other people who do it as a breakfast first thing in the morning. And then that's the only meal that they eat for the day. And I guess it's all personal preference. What I have found is that my natural tendency is to skip breakfast. Nowadays, I don't even get hungry until 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I keep trying to push it back a little bit at a time, but still, obviously, because I'm in a relationship with Linda, who has her own schedule of eating, I work with whatever works for the two of us. I find something that works for the both of us. Actually, what I would really like to do is I would like to try, I'm realizing that I want to say something different than what I started out saying. What I would really like to do, the intermittent fasting is one way of doing this on a consistent, regular basis for the rest of your life. What I would like to do is do what I would call a real fast, which is 3 days or 5 days or whatever, just go without food completely for a number of days, because that's something I have done in the past. And there are some good benefits from doing that as well. Here again, this is not really my area of expertise, so I can't really offer a lot of suggestions on this. I can just mention what I have read, and that is that when you do a fast, a multi-day fast, your body will start to clear out a lot of things that it wouldn't have a chance to clear out otherwise. I've heard that if you had any tumors in your body will use those as food before it starts attacking any other part of your body. It will leave your muscle tissue and your bone tissue and nerve tissue and all that highly important stuff as the last thing that it eats off of. And so the longer the fast, actually the healthier you're supposed to get. Here again, I can't really offer a lot of information on that, but personally, that's something that I would like to try to do again, because I have done it in the past and I have been, I don't know, I felt like it was a good thing. It's not something I want to do every month. It's not something I want to do on a regular basis, but I don't know, every couple of years or something, maybe do it just to help clean things out a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Can I add to that I have been doing intermittent fasting now for, I don't know, at least a couple of years. And the way I do it is breakfast is at 10. Dunch is at 3:30. Dunch, yes. After that, there's a light snack. It's very low sugar. It's like maybe a cookie and some walnuts and maybe a couple pieces of dark chocolate or something like that.
Ooh,
but
what time is that?
absolutely nothing after 5. So from 5 in the afternoon until 10 o'clock the next morning, you eat absolutely nothing. You can drink water, of course, but don't drink any juices or anything else, and only water, and eat nothing at all. And that gives your digestive system a nice long period to process and get renewed, etc. That's how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Very good.
Steve and Kat have a annual fasting thing they do. They told us about it. It involves eating some kind of broth that's specially made every day.
Bone broth.
Say that again, Rose?
Bone broth. Yeah,
That's
bone
it.
broth.
That's the only nutrition. And Steve's always saying how he loses weight, his stomach gets smaller, he feels better. Alan, I'm open to this stuff. I've never heard you talk about it before. This is a surprise coming out of your mouth.
Linda, this bone broth that Steve and Kat do you know how long they do it?
I don't exactly. I'm wondering if it's a week.
Not a week or 10 days.
Yeah, I mean, we should check with them and get the exact formula, but what Lori's suggesting could be a good
That's
suggestion.
doable, isn't it? Yeah. Another thing that I'm interested in, and I don't know if we as Coptics have ever had anybody come in and talk to us about this, but cleansing, certain cleanses, like a liver cleanse, a parasite cleanse, your different organs.
Barb Huttinger's talked about that a little bit, hasn't she?
Who?
Barb Huttinger,
Yeah, she would.
like gallbladder cleanse, and that's
Yeah, Barb,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Barb and Bob would talk about that.
But I think that's something that, I don't think we talk about diet as much as we should. And that would be interesting.
These things that everybody's talking about, I've just read about the ketogenic diet, which is so that your body does burn your fat. And it goes right along with what Alan was talking about, and fasting is a part of that too.
Yeah. I've been doing a keto diet for since November, and I've lost 12 pounds.
Great.
Yeah, I'm sticking to my 10 to 5 eating time frame. And also during that time, it's high fat, low carbs, very little sugar.
Sounds good.
Sugar's the killer.
Yeah. One thing I probably can add to the discussion is that when I did do the multi-day fast in the past, the first day is probably the hardest. After you get past that first day, it gets easier and easier and easier to the point where you're not even thinking about food anymore. And I remember going for about 2 weeks at one time, and towards the end of that 2 weeks, yeah, my body was telling me, hey, you need to get some food pretty soon. We're starting to run out of resources down here. So, but after the first day or two, it's like I wasn't even thinking about food. I wasn't hungry. There was no hunger pains at all. And I could just simply focus on doing what I was needing to do without having to stop every couple hours and get something to eat. So anyone who is considering this idea, I mean, the intermittent fasting is one way of doing it. You can train yourself so that you're just taking what you would normally do. Let's say you would normally have breakfast, say 9 o'clock in the morning, and your evening meal would be at 6 at night. That's a 9-hour window. So if you just try to trim it down to 8 hours and then 7 hours and then 6 hours, you just trim that down little by little. It's not a huge change in your eating schedule, and it's easier to adapt to. So that's one way of doing that. But if you are thinking about trying to go, as some people might say, cold turkey for a period of time, let me just reassure you that the first day is the hardest, and it gets a lot easier after that.
Well, another thing is the apple diet. Edgar Casey recommends a 3-day apple diet, which is eating nothing but apples. And then on the third day, at the end of the day, before you go to bed, you drink a half a cup of extra virgin olive oil. And you lie down on your right side with your right knee up against your chest. And for a half an hour, might have been 15 minutes, I'm not sure, 15 minutes to a half an hour. And then when you release it, it's supposed to clear out your gallbladder. You'll feel like a spurt taking place if you have gallstones or anything developing. And you don't stop eating. And I have done this several times, and it doesn't matter how many apples you eat. There's no limit to the number of apples. You'll eat more the first day because you do feel hungry the first day, but after that, you don't feel as hungry. And, you're only going to have apples. So it's not like you're looking forward to that ice cream or chocolate or whatever. And they say that clears out all the stuff that's stuck to the sides of the intestines. But you don't ever stop eating completely, so it doesn't really empty you completely. It just clears. And Casey also says not to eat raw apples, except for the apple diet. If you're going to eat apples, he says they should be cooked.
Could I add something about the intermittent fasting?
Yeah.
The first book I read on it, and I don't remember the author anymore. I gave the book to Hans. Actually, it talked about 3 forms. 12-12 was 12 hours of fasting and a 12-hour window of being able to eat. And many of us do that kind of naturally anyway. That was the easiest one. The next one was 16-8, 16 hours of fasting, and then an 8-hour window, like from noon until 8 when you could eat. And then the most difficult of the 3 was 18-6, 18 hours of fasting, and then 6-hour window. But I kept remembering, so I read that, and I kept remembering this lady at my old church who lost quite a bit of weight doing the 5-2 diet. So I bought that book, and I put this in the chat, so the author is there as well. It's a really good book written by Kate Harrison, and it's where they call it feasting for 5 days. It's just normal eating for 5 days. 2 days a week, you do what they call fast, but it's not a true fast. it's a restriction of calories. And for women, it's 500 calories, and for men, it's 600. And I lost 600. I lost 6 pounds, 6 pounds the first week. I was just amazed at that. And they say that you can do, if you want to accelerate the loss, you can do 3 days a week. But they also said, don't do it 2 days in a row. That's kind of too tough for your body, and it's too tough to maintain. But it resets your insulin levels, as Alan was saying, and it lowers your blood pressure. The list of things that it does for you is verified by doctors and very worthwhile looking into. So if you're interested in IF, take a look at that one. It's just called the 5-2 Diet, Kate Harrison. Something to look at.
Thank you.
Doable.
No,
Well, on the intermittent fasting, I've done that too for probably 3 years now. And in that period of time, I've lost 30 pounds. And I'm still losing, but, it's not fast. 10 pounds a year isn't a whole lot. But over 3 years, it's adding up. So, but I usually don't eat breakfast, and it's more of a brunch at 11. And then I don't eat again because John, who lives with me, sleeps in and doesn't get up to eat until later. So we'll eat anywhere between 7 and 9 in the evening.
Oh, wow.
But then I don't eat again until 11 the next day. So it's that period between 9 and 11 is the fast.
I like Dunch pizza.
Yeah.
Pat and Pete's chocolate diet. I saw that on the chat room.
The other thing that I did before I started this intermittent fasting was a meditation. There was a man who led a daily meditation 20 days in a row. Every day, the meditation was, I am losing weight, I am healthy, and my body is strong and whole, and my body is getting all the nourishment it needs, but my weight is going down, down, down. And I don't remember the exact words, but every day for 20 days at the same time of day, we did this meditation. And so with the intermittent fasting and with the meditation combination, it has worked. And I can't tell you what the name of the man was at this point because it's been 3 years ago.
Was it John Gabriel by any chance?
It might have been.
He's really been successful with that.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Steve Krychek gave me his diet, and I'm on it now.
Oh, wow.
Really?
And I have lost 5 pounds. But because of lack of exercise, I just kind of laid around. My clothes still don't fit too well. So I feel I have to exercise more. And this diet, I've been on it for 6 days. I think I'll stay on it a couple more. But it involves a lot of fat and just the bone broth after breakfast.
It involves fat, you said?
Yes. The little mixture you make in the morning is butter.
Ooh.
And there's a high octane fat. I should go look and see what it says. And then a cup of coffee, maybe a cup and a half of coffee, very strong. And then 2 scoops of collagen protein. And you whir that all together, and believe it or not, it is very.
One of the details that didn't end up making it into the talk tonight was the idea of exercising to lose weight. And a lot of people think that if you want to lose weight, one of the best exercises to do is aerobic exercise, some kind of running or jumping rope or that type of thing. And actually, that's one of the least effective ways of losing weight because it takes so much effort to lose a pound of fat. I think I looked it up, and you would have to run more than a marathon to lose 1 pound of fat. So running is not really a good way of losing weight. It's a good way of building energy. But one thing that does help you to lose weight as it relates to exercise is building muscle. Because when we increase the amount of muscle that we have, the muscle burns energy whether you're doing anything or not. That's really the primary factor with metabolism, is how much muscle mass you have. So if you build up muscle by doing strength training, then that muscle will burn away fat for you. So it's a good way of losing weight by first gaining weight. You gain muscle, and then that muscle helps to burn fat.
I'm going to interject something here. You know, we talk about the power of words. So if you were to go to a store and you come home and you don't have your wallet, you say, oh my gosh, I lost my wallet. What does that feeling feel like? So my husband in one of his talks said, rather than using the word lose, say, I have lightened myself by 5 pounds. I have lightened myself by 10 pounds. And so that's what we want to do, is become enlightened anyway. So just an aside.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a good point. Good point.
Great point. Great point.
Well, the point that you made about building muscle does burn more fat.
Calories.
And I work with, when I was training a lot of ladies, that was one of the things that I would do, is I would have them doing weights and that sort of thing. And, you know, they're losing as they're going around. And so they were quite impressed with the fact that they were getting more muscular, but it wasn't muscular physically that was showing. It was just they were getting stronger. The ladies were able to do dips that weren't able to do that before, but a lot of different exercises like that. The more muscle mass that we can build, it will keep the fat off.
And the other benefit of doing any kind of strength training is that it makes everything you do so much easier. I mean, if you need to move furniture around and you can only lift 10 pounds, then it's going to be an awfully hard job to try to move that furniture. But if you build enough strength so that you can lift 50 pounds or 100 pounds, then moving a couch is easy. And it doesn't take that much effort once you have the strength. So that was another one of those benefits of the exercise, is it just gives you so much energy because you're not bogged down by the things that we have to do throughout the day.
And one of the ladies that I was working with, she was a retired major from the Marine Corps. And after we'd worked out for about 3 months, 4 months, whatever it was, I went out, I had her get a 35-pound dumbbell. And I said, bring that over here. So she's carrying it over, and we would go to a certain exercise, and then we'd move to another one. I'd say, bring that 35 pounds. She says, after a while, you know, we've moved several different times. She says, can I put this down? I just said, I just wanted you to remember what it was like to carry that 35 pounds. She had lost the 35 pounds, or had lightened the 35 pounds. And so it was just a reminder, so that, you know, she didn't want to carry that anymore. And that was one of my practices for, you know, reminding her. So, and she looks very good.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, Autumn, you did a great job on the reading. It was very good. And it was a good lesson too, Alan. So I appreciate both of your efforts.